Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
I have been hearing this phrase a lot recently. People I know, friends of people I know, I'm not really sure how to even describe what this means, but people go around saying, I'm broken. I feel broken. It's almost painful to hear somebody say that, because I don't believe anybody's broken, but that's how they're explaining it. And if you're thinking that's you or maybe somebody you know, we want to help you out with that and so much more. And that starts with a great life coach. And he's with us today. Andrew Dale joins us on the program. Andrew, welcome back. How are you doing?
Great. How are you, Steve?
Fantastic. Broken. What does that mean when people say that? Does that mean that they're stuck in life, that they're just, it's not going well for them?
Yeah, quite often you hear that when they've had a really bad relationship breakup or something like that, where they've had a major event and it's stuck with them, and it can stick with them for many years and just compound on that. But the reality is we're never broken. We always have that soul inside. We get beaten up, we get bruised, but, broken, we can work our way back from that. It's, yes. So beaten up and bruised, yes, but broken, no. It's, we can definitely find that light inside us again and get moving. And a lot of it is to do with how we look at that event or those events, that have piled on top of us. We have to be real with ourselves and allow those events to pass as moments in time. We all have moments in time where things have gone badly for us, and they might be 5 years, or they might be a month, or they might be a day. But at the end of the day, they're a moment in time. Quick example, I had a bad fall off a ladder, 20 feet onto concrete. It hurt.
Oh, whoa.
And I rebuilt my shoulder. And during that journey, at one point, the bone was going bad, and there was looking like they were going to have to replace the shoulder. And, and it was a massive job to fix. And it took, first 6 months was hard, but really 2 years by the time I was up and running again properly. But, at the end of the day, it's only one moment, and I can look at that and go, well, that was stupid. What were you doing up a ladder and why did it happen? But it was a stupid thing that I did, but it's passed. So, the shoulder works. I can't hammer a deck in anymore with a hammer, or my shoulder would literally fall off.
Well, it's funny how you describe that, Andrew. When we think of those situations that we're in, whether it's one that you were in, broken relationships, whatever, it is the biggest thing in your life at that moment. But when you take a look at your life, call it 80 years, it's a blip. It's here and it's gone and that's it. But we center on it, and I totally get that. And then you look at, I'm better going through it because of what's going to be here on the other side. Let's say in your situation, you're probably stronger in a lot of ways, more careful, more cautious in some regards as well, going through that physical situation. If it was a mental situation, you had something going on, it makes us stronger. Like we all, you have scars. Every scar has a story. We have a story.
Yeah. And it actually helped my snow skiing a lot, because I used to be a little bit more casual about falling over, and I used to fall over in some spectacular ways. But now I ski down the mountain and I never fall over, because it's a safety thing. Yep. And so it has given me that 1% margin for error, probably increased the speed down the mountain overall by about 10 or 20%, because I'm no longer having to dust myself off. So, and that's all areas of our life, as long as we learn from it. It's like with the relationship, and I think we talked about this last time, if you have a bad breakup with the same person 5 times, but 5 different people, if you don't learn from that, then you're going to continue having those moments. But if you learn from that moment and you go, okay, is change optional, or is change a must for me? Do I need to change my behavior so that this does not happen again, so that I learn from this moment. And some moments we just need to set aside and just say, look, that's just that's happened. We'll wrap that one in love and we'll let that one go. Others, if it's a recurring event, we have to learn and we have to be honest with ourselves. Are we prepared to accept the same outcome, doing the same thing again and again for the next 10, 15, 20, 30 years? Or is it really time to make a change? Is it a maybe? Is it like we're prepared to do this all the time? Or is it a must? I am not going to do this again. I'm not going to have that same relationship again, have that same event again. I'm going to make behavioural change, thought change, so that I end up with different outcomes, different people around me, different people that support me, people that know me better, people that know my heart and soul instead of people that are being abusive to me. It's all areas of our life. If we don't change our behaviour, if we don't change sort of what we accept, if it doesn't become a must-have, and it just becomes a maybe, then we'll continue to allow that in our life. So we need to step up and make the change, make sure that it's on us. It's on us to make changes.
Most important thing you said, everything was important, but the one that stands out for me is, as long as we learn from it, when somebody comes to you, potentially wants to work with you, and you hear that maybe, but not the must language, or you're detecting that coming from them, how do you direct them? Because I know, let's say relationships, didn't go well. I'm not doing that again. That is a hard must. Check that box and that's that. But are we afraid of change? Why do we put a maybe on that?
Maybe's easy, like we can, an interesting example. It was a simple example, but it made a huge difference. So I was about a third of the way through my program once, and my client said to me, I just gave him a simple exercise, be grateful about 3 things in the morning, spend 10 minutes about, thinking of your outcome for the day. And there was dead silence. And I said, what's wrong? He said, I don't really want to do that. And I said, that's fine. It's your money. If you want to waste it, go right ahead. And his highest value was money. So he went ahead and did the exercise. It became a must because there was something in there that drove him. And in this case, he didn't want to waste his money. And by not wasting his money, he made the effort and he changed his life. But, how does that become a must for you? That's a simple example. But if we're only, if it's annoying, then we might put up with it. How does it become a must? How do you make it a must? And how do I make it a must for people? We get real. We see their vision, we see their goals. And it's a process. It's not like a direct mathematical thing, 1 + 1 + 1. It's not a straight line. It's a wave effect all the way through the program. So what that means is today you might have your vision down pat, you go away for a week or two, and you've lost focus because there's something else we have to find. And we find that other thing and then resolve it, and then you're back on track again. So it's the reason that we have apathy is because there's things in our past that let us get away with that. And so that's why it's a wave effect to move forward. You will find the initial, yes, I must do this. And then you may waver on that. And then when we dig down, we find out the reason you're wavering is because that's where you're really comfortable. All your life, people have been abusive to you and you find that okay. But when we go back and we find out why that's been okay to you, then we can move past it and say, all right, well, that's how it was as a child, but is that really serving you now? is that behavior serving you? Is that drawing on the person of your dreams, or are you just going to attract the wrong person again? And that's, as I said, that's in work, that's your friends, that's your relationships. So, yeah, I,
Yeah, it's interesting. Like as you speak, Andrew, I get visions. I think of things. I apply it to situations that I'm familiar with in life, and it's interesting how you could be in a relationship with somebody, and they enable you to be the person you were in that relationship. Let's say you were grumpy, grouchy, and they, allowed it, and you allowed them to do something. But when the relationship ends, you get out of it, and then you realize that, wait a minute, that's not really who I am. I'm starting to figure these things out. But it's almost like the camouflage of that situation allowed that to take place, along the way. Um, Fortunately, they say we reevaluate ourselves in our lives every 5 years. So
yeah.
get a wake up call and see that there needs to be some changes within that. Do you find that when you talk to people?
Yeah, absolutely. And the unfortunate part about what you just said there's a lot of people wait until they get out of the relationship before they reevaluate it and reevaluate their behavior and what's going on. There's nothing stopping you while you're in a relationship, um, reevaluating and saying what will I accept and what won't I accept, and making those changes and bringing the relationship alive again. It's you can always blame the other person, and sometimes it is the other person's fault. But if you change your behavior and you expect them to change theirs as well, if they're prepared to grow within themselves, that partner may well step up and go, oh, okay, this is our new plateau. Like, we no longer want to be broke. We're a lot of relationships end because of finance, and if you're the one, or if you're one of, it takes two to tango. But if you're spending more than you're earning, and you change your behaviour so that your income increases or your expenditures drop, and that takes the pressure off your partner, and you say to your partner, all right, our goal is to pay off $50,000 of the house or $20,000 of the house this year, and you're both on the same mission and you both change your behavior, life changes. It's really, it's behavioral. It's not, nothing set in stone. So
You seem to deal a lot with relationships, or maybe it just comes up in our conversations. But and you have a lot of amazing insight within relationships. Is that a one of your coaching passions?
yes, and it comes up with just about every client.
Hmm.
It doesn't matter. If someone's just had a divorce, the first thing out of their mouths is, I never want another relationship in my life. And my first comment on that is, well, that's not happening. And within 3 months, generally they've changed, and they're open to talking to people and moving again. So it always comes up, but it can be the relationship of your friends can be holding you back from the relationship of your dreams, or vice versa. Your personal relationship can be holding you back from having a great friend circle, including that partner. But relationships, it determines your financial wealth. It determines your personal success. Relationships are 90%. Relationships are 90% of what we do, whether it's including our relationship to money, which is, money's an energy. You can't just think of things as mechanical, because how does anyone become a billionaire thinking about $1 at a time? They can't, and energy is money and energy. If you've got the right energy and you're looking for opportunities, you're going to have a different outcome if you feel you deserve that money. If you don't deserve money, you will do all sorts of things to make sure that it's pushed away from you.
It's so true. And somebody said a long time ago, and I always have this visual, and I try to think of it in this way, but we have relationships with money. Invite money over for dinner, set a place setting. Money's
Yeah,
sitting at your table right now, and you're having a conversation with it. Because, like to your point, Andrew, it is you have a relationship with money. And when we talk about relationships, you also have a relationship with yourself, right?
absolutely. That's the most important one, and it takes that's actually the hardest one quite often. But as you get to a point where the better your relationship with yourself, the better with the rest of the world, and the less you need people, or less you need people, the more focused on yourself you become. The more you love yourself, the less you will put up with people in your life that are not serving your outcomes. And that sounds a little bit horrible, but it's absolutely essential. You've got to have people in you. You've got to love yourself, respect yourself, talk highly of yourself, so that other people follow suit. If you're a leader, you're leading other people to see you as who you are. It goes back to, early 1900s. The first thing everyone used to say, stand tall. It hasn't changed.
Mm.
Get out, stand up. And, by being taller, you're a different looking person from someone who slouches. You're also taller, and
Yeah,
that's,
you are so right about that. So right about that. And I've experienced it. And I'll give you a quick example. I have a friend, and she's also a trainer. So I used her for a period of time. And she would always say to me, "You're slouching. What are you doing? Don't proud like a soldier." And sometimes it feels awkward physically, but also mentally if you're not that type of person where you're like, here I am. But I've made sure sometimes in situations where I am just standing up straight and just, it's basically posture, but I've taken note of the way people react and perceive you. And you can actually tell a difference. You really can.
and it's your body's then in alignment too. You're actually taking a lot of pressure off yourself the more you do it, because your body's in alignment. You are taller. It's a totally different stance, and it's very much, people do, as you just said, people recognize that, hey, this person here means business. They're proud of themselves, and which is so important. People will treat you the way you're perceived, and it's. I saw a funny cartoon once, and it was, I don't know if you remember Hagar the Horrible. I'm going back a few
Oh, I
years.
do. By the way, side note, I almost became a syndicated cartoonist. So
Oh,
Dick Brown is his name. He's the, I got you. Yep. Absolutely.
so the captain and the first mate swapped hats one day, because the captain said, watch this, people will know I'm the captain no matter what hat I'm wearing. And so the next person to walk up looked at both of them. Okay, you dopes, where's the captain?
Yeah. It's not just the hat.
It was during everything else, but
Yeah.
yeah, how you're perceived is how you were treated.
Why do you think that many of us are shy to bring it, so to speak, where, I think a lot of us don't want to have that perception that we have an ego. Everybody has an ego, but we don't want people to think that our head's inflated and we're walking around like this. I'm better than anybody else. It's not that, but why do we think that? Why do we have that fear of coming on too strong?
Well, the reality is, by standing up straight doesn't necessarily mean you're coming on too strong as well. But I understand what you're saying. And it's like people's fear of having money control them. Okay. And I'll relate it back to money. When people say, I don't want to have too much money because I don't want money to control me. When you think about that is, well, how do you pay your bills? I struggle. Well, money's got control.
Mm.
Um, so if you're if your perception, if the people around you are uncomfortable with you being confident, that's probably because they're used to you not being confident. They're used to you being number 5 on the pecking order, and all of a sudden you're number 1 on the, you're standing up straight and you look like number 1 on the pecking order. What gave you the right to go to number 1 on the pecking order? And it's very important that you understand that those people will either step up or reduce their time with you because you're too uncomfortable for them. You can't change without making yourself uncomfortable, and people around you will either, the people around you who've always been there for you, have always said, no, you're being stupid, yes, this is great, will be there as you change generally. They will support you. Whereas people who are really comfortable with you being submissive to them, or in their eyes less than you, and they're not comfortable with change, they're going to fight your change, and you've got to decide if that behavior is really serving you. It doesn't happen. It happens a lot, but it doesn't happen a lot. If you've got the right people around you already, they will see that change and they will help you with that. They'll say, that's great, you've changed for the better. I really appreciate your new energy. Can I help at all? Whereas other people are going to say, you've changed. I don't like your change. Please go back to being depressed. Depressed is easy.
Well, maybe they're comfortable and familiar with the depressed version of yourself, or if you're the Hagar the Horrible, nobody wants to be with you no matter what. Yeah. I do want to get to something before we run out of time, and that's also you help people sleep. So an interesting twist for a life coach, and you offer a free audio. Can we go into that? Can we talk about that?
Sure. So it actually started, I did the audio when my mum had cancer, and actually every night for a year, I helped her go to sleep, and that's where the audio came from. And it made a tremendous difference to her. So I made the audio. And the funny part about the audio is I listen to it occasionally myself. And I really don't like listening to myself on recordings. It's a little bit weird for me. And anyway, so when I put the recording on, I have this conversation with myself about, I really don't think this is going to work. I don't like my voice. I don't want to listen to my voice. Next thing you know, I'm waking up in the morning feeling great. So it works on me. And so I found that it works on most people. So if anyone would like that, they just have to send me an email at info@andrewjdale.com, and I'll send them a link to the audio and they can listen on as well. And hopefully that will put them to sleep and help them wake up refreshed in the morning, which is, it makes such a difference in your whole life when you sleep well and you wake up well as well. If you've got that energy.
Andrew, you're so right. When you figure it out that sleep is that essential, and even just dealing with stress, if you didn't get enough sleep, maybe a couple of days in a row, and you've got stressful situations coming up, you just can't process, you can't focus. And you can't figure out why. Like, what's wrong? Why can't I do this? How does somebody reach you if they want to start the process to make that change and turn the maybe into a must? How do they do that?
So my website is andrewjdale.com, and if they go there, they will find a clarity session. They can just go down the front page. Now, on the front page, there's a couple of links to testimonials too from previous clients, a couple of videos there. And that'll give you a pretty good idea on where you're starting to where you're going. But yeah, just go on there, book your free clarity session. It's free. It doesn't matter if you say no or yes to my services. The important thing is in the clarity session, it's your time to get clear on where you want to go, where you are now, where you want to go. So that's andrewjdale.com. And come along, unpack where you are. Let's have a look and see if we can get you a vision going. And if you want, you can work with me. If not, that's fine. The main thing is that you take action.
Absolutely. And when you say clarity, when you speak, you have clarity. Like you make everything very clear, Andrew, which I think really makes you different. And a friend of mine went for a job interview the other day and she was like, I don't know if I want to go. I don't know if I'm going to like that place. I don't know. I'm like, just go. You have nothing to lose. And if anything, you'll learn stuff about yourself, maybe some confidence, whatever. And I'm bringing this up because the analogy is, what do you got to lose for the clarity session? You'll find out maybe some things about yourself, but also at the same time, you might say, I like this guy. I'm going to work with him. You know, I feel a connection. So yeah, take that step. Again, your website, what is it, Andrew?
AndrewJDale.com.
Awesome. And if somebody goes there, they can also message you for the free sleep audio?
Yeah, absolutely. Or they can send me a message on my phone. My number is 410-991-8119. So, yeah.
Yeah, great having you with us again. And thank you for clarity on a lot of stuff we talked about today. I really appreciate it.
Great. Thank you, Steve.
Thank you. We'll be right back.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house. And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned.
This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.